So this is the question which is there in GATE 2011 physics paper. This is question number 54. This is actually one of the part of this particular information which is given. Another part is there, but I am solving only this particular question number 54. So it gives that a plane electromagnetic wave has the magnetic field given by this B, which is a function of x, y, z, comma t is equal to B naught, which is some constant vector because P naught into k cap is there at the end, you can see. So this is the constant vector B naught only in the B naught is only in the k component or the z component, and the wave propagation part is sine x plus y k by root 2 plus omega t. Now it is given in now plus omega t, and k is the wave number, I cap, j cap, k cap are the Cartesian unit vectors in x, y and z directions respectively. So the question says that what will be the electric field? The electric field E at x, y, z, t corresponding to the above wave is given by. So in this case, as we can see that B is given, we need to find out what is E. And in both the cases, the sine part, that is sine of x plus y k by root 2 plus omega t, this will be same. So x plus y k by root 2, so in all options you can see that it is same. What is change? The change part is that this E naught part, because we need to find out E. In all the options you can find out that E naught is not same everywhere. So in the first case it is C B naught I minus j by root 2, C B naught I cap in the C option. In the B option it is C B naught I plus j by root 2, and in the D option it is C B naught into j cap. So what will be the correct option? We need to find out. Therefore what exactly we need to find out is that a relationship between B naught and E naught for the case where it is in the form k dot x plus omega t. In this case it is plus omega t, it is not minus omega t. So we have to see and we have to derive a relationship, a vectorial relationship between this B naught which is present and E naught which we require to find. Okay, so let's see the step-by-step solution. So we here suppose that E is equal to E naught cos kxx plus kyy plus kzz. Instead of minus omega t, we are taking it as plus omega t. The only difference between minus omega t and plus omega t is that one moves in a positive direction, another moves in a negative direction. Since here x, y, z all three are possible, so it can be three-dimensional. At any particular direction the propagation can occur, but in the negative part. Now using Faraday's law in the Maxwell's equation, we know that it is del cross E is equal to minus delta B delta T. This is already known to us. Now what we will do is that we will put E and B, which we have written here in the same way, plus omega t. We can take it sine also, it does not matter. It will give the same value. You can try it, but I have taken it in terms of cos. So del cross E is equal to I cap, j cap, k cap as the definition of the curl says. And we have to remember this E naught and B naught. These are the constant vectors. As we can see in the question also, that is nothing but a constant vector. So these are all constant vectors. Remember these things, that E naught and B naught both are constant vectors. So since they are constant vectors, we are writing that E is E naught as E naught x I cap plus E naught y j cap plus E naught z k cap. Similarly, B naught can be also written like that. But these are constant values. These are all constant values. Therefore, now if we do the derivation of this particular thing, then we can find out that since this is cos phi, where phi is kxx plus kyy plus kzz plus omega t, which I have already shown here, and E naught x is constant, E naught y is constant, E naught z is constant. So if I differentiate any term, then cos will be changed into minus sign, because cos if you differentiate once, it becomes minus sine of phi, and then we have to differentiate phi with respect to x or y or z, whatever. So each time this cos phi will be differentiated, it will convert into minus sine phi. Therefore I have taken minus sine phi as a common factor and then did the other this curl operation. What we will find out, if we do this particular operation, we will solve this particular determinant, then we will get I cap E naught z ky minus E naught y kz minus j cap E naught z kx minus E naught x kz plus E naught y kx minus E naught x ky k cap. So this becomes minus sine phi k cross E naught. This is what this expression tells. This bracketed expression will tell us that this is nothing but k cross E naught. So you can solve it K cross E naught and see that these are same. In the RHS on the other hand, we have minus delta B delta T. So if you do it in this way, it comes out to be omega B naught sine of phi. LHS is equal to RHS, just put it, sine phi cancels out. So it becomes B naught now becomes minus K cross E naught by omega. Now, had we have taken this as minus omega t, this cos kxx plus kyy plus kzz minus omega t in both the cases E naught and B naught, then we would have seen that this minus will not come, it will be only a plus sign. And in the vectorial operations like k cross E naught by omega, this minus and plus are very important. Now based on the definition of the phase speed or phase velocity, it becomes omega is equal to mod k into c. Therefore, I replace this omega which is present here as mod k into c, and when I do it, what will happen is that it is minus k cross E naught. I am just writing it here. Omega can be replaced at mod k into c, right? So k by mod k becomes the k cap cross E naught by c with a minus sign. This becomes your B naught. So what we have found out, B naught in terms of E naught we have found out. But what about E naught in terms of B naught? So what we will do, I multiply it with C. So yes, I multiply it with C. Therefore we get what? I have written it here only. So if I multiply it with C, we get minus K cap cross E naught, which is already there. That will be equal to C into B naught. Now what I do is that I cross both sides with K cap. So it becomes minus K cross E naught. I cross it with K cap on both sides. So it will be C B naught cross K cap, right? So this is what I have done here. And based on that, so if K cross E naught, so this is suppose K, which I have shown here, K, and this is E naught. So K cross E naught will be right hand thumb rule. It will point out, the thumb will point out inside the page. That's why I have I have shown it with a cross sign. Now what will happen? So this is the direction. Now cross K cap. So that cross K cap becomes again pointing out towards this E naught vector. But since there is a minus sign, it will be in the minus E naught cap direction. Therefore this will be minus E naught and this will be C B naught cross K cap. That becomes simple. Just put it like that. This minus sign I will replace and I will just interchange this particular product, the right hand side product. Instead of C B naught cross K cap, I am writing K cap cross C B naught, and this minus sign dissolves. Therefore E naught becomes K cap cross C B naught, which is what we require because we need to find out E naught given B naught. So B naught is already given, we need to find out E naught based on this expression. Therefore in the given question, now come to the question. So in the given condition is that B is equal to B naught sine x plus y k by root 2 plus omega t k cap. To find out E, we need to find out the electric field. We have already seen that, we have already derived that E naught is equal to K cap cross C B naught. Now what is K? K is, from this we can find out easily K. How? Now B is actually written as B naught, which is a vector, sine of Kx x plus Ky y plus Kz z plus omega t. In this case we are always taking plus because this is the question which is given. So if I compare it, then we will get that kx is equal to k by root 2, ky is equal to k by root 2, and what is kz? That is 0. Nothing is given like that. Okay, so k becomes k by root 2 I cap plus j cap. Therefore mod k becomes k square by 2, k square by 2, this becomes k. K cap becomes therefore k divided by mod k. Therefore k is already written k by root 2 I cap plus j cap divided by k. So k cancels out, becomes I cap plus j cap by root 2. B naught on the other hand is given to be B naught into k cap. Therefore B naught is equal to B naught k cap. Okay. Now just do this cross product because we need to find out E naught from this particular expression. C is a constant, C I can multiply later. So k cap cross B naught, if I do, so it's 1 by root 2, 1 by root 2, and this is B naught. So do this determinant, solve this determinant, we get C, then multiply by C. So we get C into B naught I cap minus j cap by root 2. Therefore electric field is E naught, this is nothing but E naught, which we have found out from by using this particular expression, that comes out to be C into B naught I cap minus J cap by root 2 into sine of the entire term which is there in the B also. So it is same. Therefore, just remember this C B naught I cap minus J cap by root 2. So let's see which one is the correct option. So C B naught I cap minus J cap by root 2. So A is the correct option here. So if I write it, so A is the correct option for this particular question. So as we have seen that this B, which is written in terms of plus omega t, kx plus omega t, now had it been written in minus omega t, then we have to derive in that particular sense and find out what is the expression. Nothing much, but there will be a negative sign change and hence these expressions will change. So that is how we generally proceed. So in this case, A is the correct option. Thank you.